Let's get back now to our top story and the explosion in Syria's capital, Damascus. State television says the suicide bombing, as it described it, has killed 25 people and injured dozens more. Well, I'm now joined on the line by Jihad Makdissi, who's a spokesman for the Syrian Foreign Ministry. Thanks very much for being with us. Let me first get you to react to these very serious accusations that have been made against your government by some in the Syrian opposition, that this blast was actually staged by the government and blamed on what the government describes as terrorists.
Well, I hope, thanks first for having me, and I hope that you are not surprised with these kind of statements by the Syrian opposition. Well, Damascus was subject today for the second terrorist attack that resulted in the killing of 25 innocent people and injuring more than 50 people. The least that any opposition, patriotic opposition, can do is, on a moral level, they should at least condemn the violence, instead of trying to kidnap the agenda and use the attack to...
Can you tell us who you mean, though, when you say terrorists? I mean, can you be more specific about who these terrorists are supposed to be? Are they homegrown elements? Are they foreign elements? Who are they?
Can you say again? I didn't hear the question.
Your government has been blaming this kind of attack on terrorists. Who do you mean precisely? Can you be more specific?
Well, what I can tell you is that very shortly, the Ministry of Interior will be issuing a statement to have all the details, and we haven't accused anyone yet. All what we have is the traces and what type of terrorist attack that we were subject to. We didn't accuse anyone. Hopefully, very soon, you will be having all the details that you need.
Well, there's a bit of a contradiction. If you don't have the details yet, how can you then say categorically that this is the work of terrorists? And why do you not then offer some kind of proof? And there was a similar blast that happened about 2 weeks ago. You also said this was the work of terrorists, but no proof was offered.
A very important question. And what we said, and we are saying that the traces of the type of the attack is from the Salafi method. You know that suicide bombing is not done by people who robs bank. This is very clear that the traces is for Salafi mentality. So this is what we said, but the investigation is still undergoing, and we will let you know the details as soon as possible.
But if this is the work of terrorists, as you say, the government does not appear to be following an anti-terrorism strategy. Far from it, actually. The graphic evidence that we see almost on a daily basis, those videos that come out of Syria that show the violence which is going on, that show government forces still using excessive force against protesters, do not suggest an anti-terrorism strategy. Are you in fact not pursuing the wrong strategy then? And does violence not beget more violence?
Well, you are mixing between strategy to combat terrorism, and this would require the cooperation on more than the national level, and between facing demonstration where people are carrying arms. If it is about peaceful demonstration, we have we don't object anything of this type. What we are facing is people who are carrying arms against the state, and this is where the army is trying to maintain law and order. There is no excessive use of force. On the contrary, I can assure you the army is on the defensive side.
But the casualties speak for themselves, don't they? I mean, the activists say on a daily basis there are at least 20 people being killed across different parts of the country. How do you explain the casualty levels that we see on a daily basis?
I can easily question your number by inviting you to the funeral of those people who are being killed in cold blood by the armed elements. So please, if you want to use the number, don't use the number and mixing between armed people killed and those civilian killed by the armed people.
Well, these are the numbers that activists, and I repeat, activists have been giving on a daily basis. But let me ask you about today's bombing. We are looking at footage that was actually aired by Syrian state television. For anyone looking at some of this footage, it may seem a little bit strange that in the wake of such a blast, we do not see any visible bodies lying around, something you'd expect to see on the scene of such a bombing. Can you explain this?
Well, I don't know which channel are you watching. I can send you footage now, even via YouTube, that you prefer all the time in Al Jazeera.
Well, we are looking at Syrian state television footage.
Just let me answer you. You made yourself clear. Let me answer you, because you are underestimating what Syria is going through. And just for the sake of the people who were killed in cold blood, we shouldn't say that there were no bodies. I can tell you there were 25 killed, and among them, 15 unidentified. We can't know who are these people because of the type of the blast.
Well, let me ask you another question, because we are running out of time. Are you saying that if this kind of attack can take place in broad daylight in the capital, Damascus itself, how can this happen when there is, as we know, a very important security and intelligence presence in the streets of the capital? Has the government completely lost control of the situation? What does it tell us?
I can ask you the same. I can use the same argument when that happened in New York or in the Department of Defense in the heart of Washington or inside London on the terrorist attack of 7/7. There is not a single country that can secure 100%. What we need is the good offices of our neighbor, our region, our partners in the West to put the incitement down, to give a way for the political process to move on. This is what Syria needs, to stop the incitement and help Syria.
Jihad Makdissi, spokesman for the Syrian Foreign Ministry, thank you very much for joining us.